Welcome to the Domestique Cycling Podcast. As you've probably heard from our jingle and seen from our logo, we've gotten a fresh new makeover. Right on time for the first Grand Tour of the season, the lap around Italy, the Giro d'Italia. I'm still Bram, and I'm joined by a familiar voice, Ethan, but also by the latest addition to the Domestique team, Joe. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, Joe.
Yeah, cheers for having me on, guys. Basically, like you two, I'm just a massive cycling fan. Love all sorts of racing. Yeah, and the Giro d'Italia is my actual favourite race of the year, I reckon. So it's cool that I've come on for this one, for my first. Yeah,
Perfect
I don't know
timing.
about you guys, but yeah, there's something about the Giro.
It's got to be fun.
I don't know.
As a Belgian, I have to say Ronde van Vlaanderen, so
Yeah,
I guess we're biased that way. Well, awesome to have you on board, Joe.
yeah, thank you.
Ethan, how are you liking our fresh new look?
I mean, compared to the past, it's a huge upgrade, isn't it? It's simply incredible. Someone like the graphics I'm seeing, it's just poof.
I completely agree with you. We can extend this intro for however much we want, but maybe we should just get into it, do what we do best, and dive into this Giro d'Italia preview. Starting off by saying that it's not starting in Italy, but in Albania. Joe, you did a pretty lengthy preview for stage one on our social medias. It looks like a pretty tricky stage. You want to walk us through it?
Yeah, so I mean, with any Grand Tour, the first stage is always a bit chaotic. You can't really call it as well because like a number of different factors, such as, I mean, there's no established hierarchy in the GC yet. Everyone's on an even playing field, and therefore it's all to play for, sort of thing. You don't have what we probably expect will be UAE and Bora within the first or second week, sort of paced at the front. They don't have that responsibility yet, so it's anyone's stage really. But yeah, the profile itself is probably lending its way towards a reduced bunch sprint sort of style. I mean, in total, there's 3 climbs on the route, and there's sort of, it's like with any race, if the riders make it hard enough, they can cause big gaps. But realistically, with the first stage of a Grand Tour, you want to hold something back. So it's probably going to be one of those where the riders will wait until they get to the main climbs. But yeah, it begins in, I think it's Durrës. I'm not really too clued up on Albanian pronunciations. Any of you lads are any better than me?
Probably not.
No, yeah. Yeah, I think beginning in Durrës is on the coast, so that would be a very nice start to the race for the riders. But they head inland towards the capital, Tirana. The first, I would say, well over the first half of the stage is pretty flat, and then they hit the longest climb of the day, the Grayson Pass. At that, it's not really going to affect the peloton. It will just be a chance for the break area riders to fight for the first King of the Mountain points, really. And yeah, after that, it's all coming down to a double ascent of the final climb of the day, which is, what is it called?
No clue.
Yeah, hold up. 2 seconds. Right. The Sorel climb, the Sorel Pass.
Right, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So they tackle that climb twice. It's a Cat third climb, 7 kilometers long with an average gradient of around just over 4%. So we see these climbs all the time in races like this. Sometimes you see some sprinters get distance, but with the first stage of a Grand Tour, all their legs should be pretty fresh. So yeah, it's one of those really. It just depends on what sort of pace the climb's set on. I don't know, lads. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think
The
you're
climbs.
completely right with the reduced bunch sprint. It's going to be interesting to see how a sprinter like Olaf Koi's recovered from his injury straight away, if he's going to be able to survive those climbs, because of course the Giro is one of those Grand Tours. Well, it evolved over the past couple of years to be harder and harder for sprinters, more and more climbs in flattish stages. But yeah, I think you're completely on the money with a reduced bunch sprint.
Yeah, that's another thing I've noticed as well with a lot of these Grand Tour stages now. Even the stages supposedly for the sprinters, they still have well over like 1,500 meters of climbing on a lot of them. Whereas before it would literally be like I don't know, you'd get stages with 500 meters of climbing. So yeah, it's tough being a
Would you
sprinter these
say,
days.
Joe, that is similar to last year's opening stage in a sense, or is it a bit too?
Yeah, I would say definitely in terms of the sense of unpredictability and the fact that you've got the climb not too far from the finish. So it's sort of like certain riders will be enticed to attack, but then other riders will think it's too far from the finish. So yeah, it's one of those where if you're really confident and you've got good legs, it might be worth having a go. But then again, the pace might be too high to attack in the first place. So yeah.
Yeah. Who's the main favorite for the first Maglia Rosa? For both of you. Pedersen?
You go first.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Paul Magnier.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Who's yours?
I mean, yeah, Pedersen's a good shout. I mean, Caden Groves as well. He should be there or thereabouts.
He's been in some nice form, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he climbs. The key to this stage is you've got to be sort of a sprinter that climbs better than all the other sprinters, and also be able to sprint better than the GC riders. So a rider like Groves, Pedersen, a healthy Van Aert. Well, his sprinting's obviously not been as supreme as previous years, but who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, and do you think Koi's going to be able to get over the climbs or not?
Well, the way he was riding in Ghent Wevelgem, for example, if he has that sort of form, he'll have no bother. Or in Tirreno, that stage he won, that was a more difficult climbing stage than what we've got here. So yeah, I think Koi should be, if he's fit and healthy, he should be fancying his chances for this. But obviously, it's hard because he is probably the standout sprinter in the field, so he's going to have that target on his back.
All right, that's great. And do you think that the Red Bull Golden Kilometer, or the Red Bull Kilometer, my bad, will have a impact on the race? You can, Ethan, maybe.
No, yeah, I think I thought Joe was, because Joe did the preview obviously, and he looked very in depth at it. But yeah, in terms of overall, the Red Bull kilometer, as in a sense, may have a big impact in a sense that they pointed out in the press release, which I read, obviously, that it was placed in strategic locations of a stage to entice GC contenders to actually fight for those bonus seconds, which, in my opinion, I think people didn't read that much into about it. Do you think that as well, Joe?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially considering this Giro route is quite backloaded, it's all the mountains are packed into the third week. I think they could be, I mean, there are quite a lot of intermediate sprint sort of things they have in the Giro over the years, but I think this one could be a good one for the likes of Roglič to get his teeth stuck into. He could, obviously, we've got the 2 time trials in the first 10 stages as well, but I think this could be a decent little way he could gain a few seconds over the likes of Ayuso, or Ayuso probably try as well, but over the other GC guys, they could establish a bit of a order.
It's just little cheap seconds, isn't it, Ray?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they all tally up at the end of the day.
It's not free, but obviously it's a lot easier than attacking on a mountain. So yeah.
Definitely. Maybe let's go through all of the teams one by one from now on, and starting off with the team of number 1, Primož Roglič. That's Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. They are bringing, of course, Roglič, and then next to him they're bringing a pretty stellar squad, if I may say so, with Jai Hindley, Daniel Felipe Martinez, Jan Tratnik, Gianni Moscon, Nico Denz, Giovanni Aliotti, and Giulio Pilizzari. That's a very strong squad to bring to this Grand Tour.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in, playing all the cards in it in terms of poker sense, all in for Roglič, and that should be obviously the main goal, obviously. The sprint stages, I mean, what can they do there, do you think, Joe? In terms of, like, at least trying something, you want to have something, maybe?
I'm not sure. I mean, with that lineup that they've got, there's not really much they can do. I mean, the main thing is just keeping Roglič safe, because we all know that he's prone to bad luck. So I think rather than focusing on trying to win a few sprint stages, I think it probably makes sense for them to go all in protecting Roglič. That's the main thing at the end of the day, is winning the race overall.
Yeah, you'd probably take that rather than a
station,
obviously.
Do you think they will keep Jai Hindley safe as well and not have him lose time on purpose? Unless, of course, there is a Ayuso attack that needs to be closed. But considering Roglic's tendency for bad luck, do you think that the team will kind of play into that and maybe keep Hindley in safe territory in the GC?
Definitely, for sure. Obviously, Hindley's a previous winner of the Giro, so it's no slouch, is he? Let's be honest here. And it's better to have that option, isn't it, really, as well? Because UAE team members also hold the same cards, really, with the squad they're bringing as well.
Yeah, it's all about strength in numbers.
And Pellizzari, he obviously had a great Giro last year, into one of the World Tour teams this year. Stage hunting or domestique work?
Hard, isn't it?
They're 50-50, I'd say, yeah. It depends on the situation, innit, really, I think.
Yeah, in an ideal world, he'd get a chance, but obviously he's super young still. He's going to learn a lot from being like a sort of super domestique in the high mountains for Roglic. So even if he has to be sacrificed as a teammate, it's still going to be an invaluable experience for him for future years.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's maybe move on to second team, which is Alps in the Koning, where we have one of the sprinting favorites, Caden Groves, surrounded by Quinten Hermans, Jure Holman, Jimmy Janssens, Timo Kielich, Edward Blankert, Fabio van den Bosse, and Jensen Plowright. Very much a team focus on the flat stages, not much else, or am I seeing that wrong?
That's correct, isn't it, really? I mean, even Kielich and Kielich's not bad as like a backup to Groves, really, in some stages. He's not, but like, poor face just Groves, isn't it, really? And pray that he can get at least a few win or two.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's all in for Groves in the sprint stages. They've got a good train to do that. The likes of Janssens and Plankart, they're never riders that ever get spoken about, but they've got bags of experience. They know what they're doing, and they've got a good relationship with Groves, so that'll be important. But I think someone like Hermans will probably try and go stage hunting. He's probably their best bet. Obviously, was it last year or the year before, he was up there in quite a few stages? I think it was the stage Alaphilippe one when he went away with Maestri. Hermans was in the group behind, and he was really strong. I think if obviously he was a bit closer to Alaphilippe, he might have had a chance on that day.
Even for Alpecin there as well. The gravel stage as well could be one to watch for them to do a lot of work on, with obviously the strong team on the flat they're bringing there, and the experience that they have in that team in the gravel sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Herman as well for that.
With Van den Bosse as well and Plowright, they're definitely not slow. So I think they've got backup options as well, and a really strong train.
Yeah, one of the strongest for sure.
Then we have Arkea B&B Hotels with Alessandro Vere, Giosso Epi, Simon Guglielmi, Lorenz Hess, Michiel Ries. That's a Norwegian name. Maybe that's one for you, Ethan.
Go on.
Bredstad Vardseng or something like that. I think obviously we've seen one of my friends actually race against him in the junior ranks, and he's held him in quite high regard. And obviously in this season, he's actually had not a bad season, really. Brett has.
Then we also have Luca Mazzato and Martin Ciotta, if I pronounced that right. Thoughts on that team?
It could be worse, in my opinion, really. There, like generally, you have
all the reaction that teams are looking for when they announce their lineup could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, Mazzato there, obviously you seen him last year in the Ronde on Flanders, obviously he had a very strong one. Well, I think it was second actually, wasn't it? Third. Embrod Bredstad Svartseng, very strong. De Jota, also another Norwegian, very strong. But Vera is also kind of a little climbing talent, is he? Yeah, I think so. If I recall from last year, he was in a few situations in the Giro.
All right. I don't really have much to say about this. I think it's a team that is there for breakaways, and
I think they might win one. You know, I'm predicting
Yeah.
okay. He's going to win.
I'm gonna back Embrett.
I'm backing Embrett. Yeah,
I'm backing Embrett all the way, mate.
it's either Embrett or Very. He's going to win a breakaway stage.
you've heard it here first.
You said no. I remember. I don't know if the viewers were cool, really, but you absolutely hated on Cofidis as a team, and it was it was Lafay who went and won the opening stage of the tour, wasn't it, in Bilbao? You was hating on them, and you absolutely cursed them, said there was a nothing team. So we'll put up the receipts there, I think.
Yeah, that definitely happened. A few times. Anyway,
It happens, Russell.
on to Bahrain victorious with one of the shadow favorites, I think, for GC with Antonio Tiberi. They also bring Pelo Bilbao, Damiano Caruso, Alfonso. That's a lot of syllables.
Julio.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Matej Govikar, Fran Milojevic, Andrea Pasqualon, and Eduardo Zambanini. What are Tiberi's chances in GC?
5%. I'd say
not for the win. Yeah,
I'd maybe put fifth.
Podium?
I'd say max fifth. That's what I'm going fifth. As Bilbao, I mean, always could do something, but you'd expect him to just win stages in a sense rather than compete.
Yeah.
What
I
about you,
think
Joe?
for GC, they're all for Tiberi. I don't think Bilbao is going to aim at a GC. But
strange, what?
Maybe. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tiberi's got the talent. I mean, last year showed that. And I think, obviously, he was fifth last year, won the white jersey. I think the aim should be, obviously, make the podium now. It's going to be harder, I'd say, this year because although there's no Pogacar, I think the rest of the GC podium contenders is probably maybe slightly stronger. Or there's maybe more guys that will be after that podium spot. But the time trials should suit him. He should have an advantage going into that final week over your lightweight climbers. So that it probably will be a case of him trying to defend the position, perhaps. So,
and I think he's got a podium spot in him, to be honest. Like,
I mean, he's been solid this season. I think he goes quite under the radar in the early season races. I mean, he was third at Tirreno. Obviously, that's 1 week. This is 3 weeks. Can he make that step up?
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe in Tiberi that he can do that. Just judging by what he did last year. Of course, there was a little bit of what happened after the Giro with the. Did he get sent to Swiss as well? Basically, straight after.
He was basically just used a bit, wasn't he? Really, is
a bit abused. Yeah.
The Bahrain Victoria special.
But he looked good in the first week of the Vuelta as well. But then I think it was COVID that took him out. But he was well up there in the first week. Or was it some sort of illness? Oh, yeah, it might have been that. But yeah, he was up there.
Yeah.
And then
he looked really good.
He's clearly a talented rider.
Yeah. On to actually Zambanini in the sprints.
Yeah.
Any expectations?
I don't understand. And Dieter just keeps saying Zambanini. He's predicted them actually in the domestic picks for stage 1. Because of some role he has in the team. We was watching Eschborn Frankfurt last week, obviously, and Dieter believes he could have won if he didn't dive bomb into a corner and avoid the crash. So, and obviously the sprint field that was there in Eschborn Frankfurt. So if he obviously theoretically didn't have that and got a high result, it could translate well into this. Do you think?
For me personally, I don't see it yet, but of course, like first big win would change my mind, and I don't want to pull another confidence and say it's not possible, but it looks like it will be a challenge for him to win a stage.
Yeah, I don't think he'll win a stage, obviously, but Govikar as well. Where is that? Govikar would be the sprinter on the stages on a flat. What do you believe, Joe?
Yeah. I think Govakar is one. There's a few riders I think you like, so Casper Van Udens, Milan Frentens, Govakar. I think. Oh, and there's another one that I'll mention later on that I want to wait till later. But I think these sort of sprinters, they'll have a big chance this year because you've not got Milan, you've not got Philipsen, Maliers of the world, and beyond Olav Koy, who is probably the only rider at the moment you'd put near that top tier of sprinters.
Mhm.
I mean, you've got good riders like Sam Bennett that are in form, but I think there's a real chance for an outsider to take a stage win or two, or multiple different outsiders to take a stage. I don't know about you boys, but
What do you say? It's like in a sense like the Girmay thing where people, not a single person, predicted Girmay to go and
not
do
to
what he
do
did.
as many as that was crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy good.
it's one of those things where you get into a winning mood. Like we see that over and over again in Grand Tours. Once you get into that winning mood, you keep going. You're on that roll, and
I think that's. But sprinters, the main thing is confidence. A confident sprinter is hard to beat. That's simple as really.
Yeah,
it's also having that
if they get off
confidence
to a
in
good
your
start.
lead out train and
Yeah,
just
exactly.
following through anywhere. And
It's one of those
if
things
they-
where
if they mess up the first time, you might not follow them, and then you're all wrong
Yeah.
again, and then it's your own fault. Talking about sprinters, let's maybe go to Cofidis because they have actually brought a pretty decent sprinter with Milan Fretin, who's won a couple of races already this year. Then they also have Nicolas de Beaumarchais, Jonathan Lastra, Sylvain Moniquet, Stefano Oldani, Anthony Perez, Sergio Samitier, and Jan Maas. Chances for Fretin or also for the rest of the team?
For the rest of the team, I think was Ani Lowski. Well, last year on Cofidis, he actually podiumed, didn't he? On I think both podium on the stage. I don't know why he's not in the Giro because I thought it would suit him. But for the rest of the team, Perez in a breakaway. Obviously, I think you're going to see a lot of him. Maybe he likes a breakaway, and I think didn't he win? Or was it a Foundrom or an Ardèche race? I think maybe 2 years ago. So if you can go back to that level.
Yeah, him and I think Samitier will basically be in a lot of breaks. Probably Monique as well.
If
they've
O'Donnell
got
can
quite a
mix
few
up-
good climbers. Obviously, they're not the top tier level climbers, but I mean, Samitier, I think he finished 13th on GC during the lockdown edition, which is quite impressive, to be fair. I mean, Monique is obviously a talented climber, but they'll try to get into the breakaways, but they will be the outsiders.
Yep.
But that might play into their advantage because they might not have many people watching then.
O'Donnell on stage one. I don't know if the old dog could mix it up a bit.
On stage one?
On stage one.
No, I think that stage will be too controlled.
Like
I think a little trek will not allow that to happen. They want that pink jersey.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but I think gonna be, if he does pull that off, that is quite crazy.
I think you come in the top 10 at least, O'Donnell on that stage.
Yeah. I think that sort of stage is perfect for a rider of O'Donnell's like sort of profile, but probably someone that's just a bit more.
To say,
yeah, definitely, that makes sense. Yeah, but whether it'll be him or probably more likely,
or Fretin, obviously. Fretin's had some good form. Is who do you pick on that stage? Obviously, it's going to be Fretin. But like in a sense, it's the home race of O'Donnell, so you never know. So
and he's won a stage before.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, but that was from a breakaway, so it's probably not the sort of stage you would have expected him to win, really, at the time, because he's more known for having a quick finish. But then he won it from a small break before.
Yeah, I mean, I think for him to win it from a sprint is always going to be tricky. So going for those breakaways and just being the fastest guy in a breakaway, like that
makes sense
that's a really
in
good way
hindsight
to do it.
Yeah.
To more fast men with Decathlon AG des Airs Mondial with Sam Bennett, who is on pretty good form, Geoffrey Bouchard, Dries de Bond, Stan de Wolf, Dorian Godon, Tord Gulmestad, Nicolas Prudhomme, and Andrea Vendrame.
that is it. I mean,
Good team.
you could pick probably anyone for the opening stage for that out of that team. You could just pick out a hat, really, couldn't you? Really, in a sense.
Would you pick out Bennett for that stage?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the region Pas de la Trois, his climbing there was tough. He's generally on the climb against Vacalon. He was fighting like a dog, really. He's serious. It was very impressive to see from Sam Bennett.
Yeah.
You
don't think it's more of a stage for Vendram?
It could even be a stage for Godon, really. It depends on how it's raced.
Yeah. That's the key. It's all about that pace.
It's good for the teams to have a plan A, plan B, plan C. It's what you need, really. And to have the cards to play, like Decathlon, as you say, have there.
You sound like a Ferrari strategist when you say all those amount of plans, but
I don't want to talk about Ferrari strategists really at the minute. I'm not particularly happy, but let's hope that the sport directors at least have some competence in the team cars this upcoming 3 weeks.
No doubt that they do.
No,
there's no GC guy in this team unless you guys have some unexpected theories that I'm missing.
No. Good. Now, rider to watch in that team is Tord Gudmundstad, though. Especially, I know Dieter is definitely a big fan of that guy, and it could have gone better for him in Region Pas de la Trois, but it didn't. But he's still a very, very strong rider. Obviously, I think he was released from UnoX last season, and he's taken a step forward in a sense, really, in my opinion.
See, even in a race where UnoX is not on the start lists, Ethan finds a way to talk about Norwegians.
But there's loads of them actually in this race, which is great to see.
Yeah, they're spreading out over all the teams. It's really nice to see that.
Need to come back
it's not just the continental team. They're getting into the World Tour teams as well.
Yeah,
and of course, probably most likely UnoX will be World Tour next year, but we'll see.
Deserve to be.
Definitely, 100%. On to EF Education Easy Post with a really nice white kit and a GC hopeful with Richard Carapaz. They also bring Darren Rafferty, Jefferson Alexander Cepeda, Owen Dool, Mikkel Honoré, James Shaw, Georg Steinhauser, who did really great last year, and then Casper Asgreen as well.
Yeah, that's a great team for stage hunting, and obviously aspirations of what they decide to do with Carapaz. Really, you obviously can go KOM hunting if he wants to, if the GC doesn't go to plan. And then Asgreen is always nice to see him in breakaways, really. We've seen in the Tour, obviously, his heroics of what he did for that breakaway as well. And Steinhauser, he was my favourite rider to watch for last year. I just love watching him. He just always went for it. And that's what you like in a rider, don't you?
Mm-hmm. But is it someone that you would chain to Carapaz, or do you still let him race? Of course, EF Education is one of those teams that just loves the attacking racing style. But with Carapaz, do they want to keep more riders in the peloton?
Yeah, you keep Steinhauser on him and then send Cepeda as the mad guy who just goes on the attacks. Obviously, we've seen it last year with Pinot, and obviously the drama. Was it last year? Was the one before? With the Pinot thing, with then you see the voters thing, the drama surrounding that. But yeah, in my ideal world, you'd send him up the road and then leave Steinhauser protecting Carapaz, which is a flipping amazing guys that are protecting him.
Do you agree, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say about EF is they're quite a crazy team. They're not afraid to just go for it. So it wouldn't be even a surprise to see sort of a Steinhauser or Cepeda attack and then Carapaz tried to attack across, because there was that stage in the Vuelta last year where Carapaz just went crazy, really long way out. And I think with a lot of the stages this year, the big mountains, they come a lot further out from the finish than you'd usually expect. So I think a lot of riders would be hesitant to attack, but one rider that would definitely be giving it a go is Carapaz, because he's going to need to, because he's probably going to lose. He's probably going to lose time in the time trials, so he's got to make that up somehow. And he knows that. I mean, when he won this race in was it 2019?
I think so.
Yeah, whatever year it was, the attack that he made on stage 14, it was
Yeah.
just an opportunistic attack, really. And all the other GC guys looked at each other. It was a long way from the finish. And then by the end, he gained like enough time that pretty much that won him the race. So, yeah.
From one GC guy that needs to take time because they'll probably lose time in the TTs to another, David Gaudu, if we consider him a GC guy for this race, considering his recent form. We're going on to Groupama FDG with, of course, David Gaudu, Sven-Erik Bistrom, Clément Davy, Kevin Gimier, Lorenzo Germani, Quentin Pache, Enzo Paleni, and Remy Rojas. What do we expect from Groupama?
It's too many of the similar profiles of riders that they've got there. Germani, I mean, could do some. Rojas as well, not bad in like a breakaway, for example. But
yeah,
Gaudu, I can't make a prediction on Gaudu because you never know.
He was in Romandy, wasn't he? And completely sank through it. Like he went through the ice.
Yeah, he's just really hard to call what you're going to get with Gaudu, really. I mean, last year at the Vuelta, I think he done a pretty decent ride in the end, but I don't think before the race many people would have probably expected that based on his shape a few months before. So I wouldn't write him off racing GC and trying to fight for a top 5, whatever. But at the same time, if he went out of the back on the first mountain stage, it also wouldn't be a surprise. But that might not necessarily be a bad thing because he might get more
sort of like
stages.
I don't know if it's like with him. I don't think it's like a sort of like a mentality issue kind of thing, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a lot of pressure surrounding him. Obviously, then you see a lot of the drama surrounding him in the past with like Twitch streams and then other riders talking stuff about him. And it's just as long as your head's switched on, then at least you can at least try something, you know.
Do you think we'll see that David Gaudu from Paris-Nice when he followed Pogacar and Vingegaard?
Highly likely.
Yeah.
I mean, if we did, he would be a serious contender for pink with the way he was riding that race.
Do you think we'll ever see that David Gaudu again? Or was that a 1 week event?
Yeah, that time is gone, unfortunately, I think.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard one to say, but don't want to be too negative about him, but yeah.
No, that's true.
I think it's going to be
hopefully we'll see it again. But yeah, I think for this Giro, considering how he's been in the past months, probably breakaways and trying to get stages that way.
But he'll have a couple of riders with him in there. I think, like you say, Rochas is a good rider, very good climber. Germani. I think Pachet's quality, he's always attacking. And he's the sort of rider where if he got a stage win, it'd be really nice to see. Because he's a rider that doesn't really get the reward, but he's always willing to give it a go. So
yeah, he definitely puts in the work.
Yeah.
All right. On to the Ineos Grenadiers, who of course saw Caleb Ewan retire this week. He wasn't planned to race the Giro, but still sad to see him retire from professional cycling. They are bringing Egan Bernal, Damon Adelsman, Jonathan Castroviejo, Lucas Hamilton, Brandon Rivera, Kim Heiduk, Joshua Tarling, really want to look out for those TTs, and Ben Turner.
You have the renaissance for Ineos, really. I think if you would say this time last year that they would have this success in a sense, I would laugh at you, really, because many people disrespected, in a sense, their transfers in terms of the names they put in. But it's very nice. Yeah, we did, definitely. Egan Bernal and Timon Arensman, that is 2 cards to play there, isn't it? I mean, I couldn't pick who you'd go with. Arensman?
I would go with Bernal and roll the dice on that.
Yeah, I would go one Bernal.
I think I saw an interview with a DS from Ineos where Bernal was thinking on how to win the Giro.
Yeah.
So that just shows the intent. He's not coming there to win stages or whatever. He's coming there to win the GC.
Fresh kit as well, so I mean,
that kit.
He might not wear it for long if he goes into pink. So
that would actually be a shame. Seeing him, he can have pink on last stage or whatever, but so we can see that kit for as long as possible because it's amazing looking kit.
Yeah.
Tarling, top favorites for stage 2, I imagine.
No, it should be. It's like a banker, really, isn't it? I think you'd probably
something's got to go wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
no chance he loses the time trials, really, in a sense. He's just a machine as well, and also his climbing is also kind of, in a sense, underrated, and because we've seen situations before. I think maybe Tour de Suisse maybe last year, or one of those races along those lines where he was climbing like a demon, really, and hung on for so long.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any other names that we have to think about for stages?
I mean, there's not too many chances probably, but if there was sort of like the really reduced sort of sprints, maybe Ben Turner, but that would need a lot of the big sprinters obviously to be distance first. That's probably unlikely, but he's a good rider.
Yeah. And I think Rivera is also one that has a surprisingly strong sprint for considering how small he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a difficult field for him to win a stage in.
But the Ineos should be confident because like Arensman is in brilliant form, and I think Bernal is a champion. And before that crash he had at the start of the year, he looked in great shape. And I think he's definitely, even though probably not many people expect it, he's definitely going to come to try and win the race because that's the mindset he has.
And with the way Ineos are racing, you never know, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Geraint Thomas as well. Really only peaks for the Grand Tours. Doesn't really do too much. Chris Froome, similar target, only a few races, or Wiggins, for example. It's just the Ineos way, really. They know usually how to get it right for the big races. So I wouldn't rule Bernal out of doing something crazy.
Definitely not. Yeah. And also, just it would make the comeback after his injury just so much more beautiful.
Was such a great story in sports, really. That would be, really, wouldn't it? It'd be one of the all-timer ones.
Yeah, well, this was the last big race that he won as well before the crash, so it'd be a nice like full 360-degree spin, really.
Exactly. So where do we realistically see him end up?
For top 3.
Yeah, I think definitely he could definitely podium, and as the race goes on, I think we'll know more. Podium should
top
be
top 3, top 5 is where I see
that sort of range. And then if things go really well to plan and it falls into place, you never know. Dreaming of thing.
Yeah, I mean, considering you have a Ayuso and a Roglič here, it's going to be difficult.
It'll be hard,
but top 3.
Yeah.
At Intermarché 1T, we have Louis Meintjes, Francesco Bussato, Kevin Caglioni, Simone Peteghi, Dion Smith, Gerben Thijssen, Taco van der Hoorn is back in a Grand Tour, so careful, and Gijs van Hoeken. Taco van der Hoorn back in a Grand Tour. The peloton must be scared.
The breakaways are going to be shaking in fear now over him, really. But it's obviously great to see him back after the horrible stuff that happened to him. Obviously, it's very sad, and it's actually great to see him back doing what he loves, isn't it? Really. Recalled the Tour Down Under straight away. We've seen peak Taco van der Hoorn him in the breakaway straight away, so it's lovely to see.
Yeah, he's come back with a bang, really, because usually when you're out of the sport for a long time like he was, you can sort of forgive a rider if it takes him a while to get back into the swing of things. But even last season when he came back, he won a one-day race in Holland. I think it's the Elfstender race, but really windy race, and he just blitzed the field in the crosswinds and echelons. Yeah, and then even in Paris-Roubaix this year, he was there or thereabouts. I think he finished 20th in the end. Yeah. So he's clearly got good form to go. No, exactly. He's a classy rider.
It's the intelligence of like the racing mind, isn't it? You don't lose that. So
he's a smiling assassin, really.
Exactly.
He's always smiling.
true. That's actually true. Even considering all the things that happened to him, the concussion and being off the bike for so long, just keeping that smile going, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You also in that team have Gerben Thijssen, maybe a sprinter that's under the radar.
Yep, definitely.
Well, I mean, his chances last year, you obviously would have expected him to be the main sprinter in the Tour last year, but obviously the success of Girmay messed that up completely. In terms of like it's a tendency to get dropped really easy though, so it's a bit, I'd say there.
He's a bit of a heavier sprinter, maybe a bit more of for the really flat stage. Then there's not.
Yeah, the flat one. You'd say his ability, in a sense, you'd say it's up there really quite a lot. I'd say.
Yeah. I think he could be a similar sort of rider to Dainese, where he's just you don't really see him too much in the first week or so of the sprints, and then he just randomly appears out of nowhere and has a great sprint in the second or third week. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think I generally believe in that as well. There.
Yeah.
All right, and old dog Louis Meintjes. What are our expectations of him? Can he squeeze in another top 10 of GC, or is that out of it?
It's possible, 15th, I'd say, around there, in my opinion. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, every time you sort of write him off, he just gets another top 10 added to the list, but it's hard to see. I don't know. I think maybe, top 15 is probably more realistic, but that'll probably come naturally through getting in breakaways and gaining a bit of time on the GC favourites just from being in the breakaway, really. So I think, get Meintjes in the break on the mountains.
Awesome. Any other riders from Intermarché that you think are worth mentioning for a stage? Or
I mean, Bussato, he's quite a talented youngster.
Yeah, he is.
He's the sort of rider that I think you could see appear in the top 10 on a couple of stages, just out of in a sort of reduced sprint sort of thing. Yeah, I think he could get a few points for the team, but stage win probably not just yet in his career. A bit too soon.
Yep. On to Team 11, Israel Premier Tech with one of our former guests from this podcast, Derek G, as their GC leader. It's going to be really interesting to see what he ends up doing as GC leader here. He's joined by Simon Clark, Marco Frigo, Jakob Fuglsang, Jan Hirt, Hugo Hull, Nick Schultz, and Corbin Strong. What are the expectations for GCG?
That's
a comprehensive answer.
If he shows his form from the Tour of the Alps, then bloody hell, and obviously in previous races, then top 5, I'd say. The time trial also helps as well. Brilliant time trialist. So yeah, fifth. I'm going 5th to 4th. I don't think he can get a podium because I think that just that little bit of a gap there is to for example, a Roglič, Ayuso, Bernal compared to him in a sense.
Yeah. Joe, what are your thoughts?
I think we'll know a lot more about G after the 2 time trials, because I think he's one of the riders that should try and capitalise and gain time, like a Tiberi. So if he does do that, then you know that his legs are still really good. But again, I think it'll be a case of he'll probably be defending a higher position in the high mountains in that final week. So it's just a case of whether he's got the legs still or whether the fatigue is hitting. But I think, top 5 and maybe an outsider for a podium, maybe, depending on if it really goes to plan.
Considering what we know about G and Grand Tour's fatigue resistance is definitely one of his strengths. So holding on to that higher spot should definitely be possible. Corbin Strong in the sprints.
An outsider for stage 1, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Forgot to mention him.
Yeah, definitely.
Hugo Hull as a breakaway. That was one of the most emotional things in recent cycling when he won his breakaway stage.
Interview
that was hard to watch. That
you obviously you'd like to see him have some success. Nick Schultz as well, possible as well. And Marco Frigo as well. Obviously, we've seen he was a revelation
Frigo.
last year in the Giro. Remember, I think Hannes was picking him a lot, wasn't he, in for breakaway picks, and he came closer sometimes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of really talented riders. I think mainly for breakaways, but I'm curious how they're gonna keep Derek G up in the favorites group, or maybe with Jan Hirt, who's maybe brought in for that work.
That's a nice pickup, really. I think. But other than that, I think it's lacking in a sense of like support for him in a sense on high mountain stages. I think he could get isolated a bit quick.
Yeah. I think Hurt will be the main one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. On to Team 12, Little Trek. They've done amazing things in spring. Let's see if they can bring into Grand Tour season as well. They're bringing one of the best sprinters here with Mats Pedersen, but they're also bringing Giulio Ciccone, Dan Hol, Søren Kragh Andersen, Patrick Conrad, Jacopo Mosca, Matthias Vacek, and Carlos Verona. I'm going to gloss over Pedersen real quick and go to Vacek. What should we expect from the youngster? Because obviously he's had a pretty strong year already.
I don't think you should apply expectation on the young riders, in my opinion, obviously. But if you can display his form from Valenciana, obviously he was hindered by the crash, obviously. I wouldn't say chase a GC aspiration, really. I'd sense just go with the flow, innit, really, I think, and just see how it goes. And you never know what can happen in the Grand Tour.
That's a very vague answer, but I'll take it.
Yeah, you have to be vague because he is a tremendous talented rider, and obviously expectations come with a lot of pressure sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that, because you mentioned TC, I hadn't really considered that. Do you think that there is going to be a time where he goes for TC?
In proof, I say maybe 5 years' time. I'd say that's what I would say, because he definitely has the talent to reach it, a nice time trial, good climbing. So yeah, and even can kind of sprint in a sense as well. We've seen it in the Bauer's Belgium Tour last year, nearly won the GC in that as well. So it's there.
All right, Ciccone, GC or KOM?
This has got to be the hardest one to call in the whole race, I think. Ciccone. He's one of those riders because obviously it would be great to see him try and go for that podium, but then you just know that if he goes to the stages and King of the Mountains, he's probably going to succeed there because he's done it time and time again. So for the team, it must be really hard, sort of trying to decide what's best for him. I don't know.
But if he wins stages, he's going to cost the team UCI points.
Yeah, just the glasses.
If he tosses glasses.
My glasses.
What a mental rule. Yeah.
Let's go back to Mats Pedersen. Obviously, insane form in spring. Kind of got really close to the form of Van der Poel. Kind of went better than Wout van Aert. He was obviously a little bit upset that he didn't get to go to the Tour. That he's not selected for that. Is he out for revenge in this Giro d'Italia?
Definitely out for revenge as well, but his spring could obviously have been a little bit better, and in my opinion he kind of raced it a bit weird in a sense. People have probably different opinions, but he's going to win the points jersey, I think. I'm going to stick it on the line there, and I think it's nailed on, in my opinion, compared to obviously Wout has obviously a slight infection, so Mads Pedersen could start with an advantage there. Koi, it's obviously too. Mads Pedersen would just pick up easy ways to pick up points, so it's a bit of a difficulty for other riders.
You don't think Groves has a shot?
Mads Pedersen he's going to have the official dog tag where he just grinds out. And we always give one out, so he definitely has has that in him, and obviously the support that he has around him is obviously amazing as well. So it's going to be a great scene to watch Mads Pedersen in pink after stage 1.
You're just calling it and putting it out there?
Well, he's going to, it's guaranteed.
All right.
I'm sure Joe agrees as well with that. It is. So
no response.
He's the man to beat. He's the man to beat. I
He is
mean,
the man to
I agree
beat,
with
yeah.
you about. I definitely agree with you about the points classification. Definitely. I mean, the way he was climbing at Paris-Nice, Rose is obviously a good climber, but especially getting them extra points in them tough mountain stages, none of the other sprinters are going to be able to do what Pedersen does on them sort of stages. So yeah, he should be the big favourite for that one.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well. By the way, just making your life hard. On to the next team, Movistar, where we have a very old and familiar name. Nairo Quintana is back. Oris Aular is joining him together with Jon Barrenetxea, Jefferson Cepeda, Davide Formolo, Lorenzo Milesi, also a name to watch for the TTs, probably. Aino Rubio and Albert Torres.
it's a nice team, really, in a sense. You got Quintana, you never just let him do what he wants, in it, really. So then you have the nice pickup from Kaya Rural last year of Aula. He could probably top 10 stage 1, in my opinion. And
I
that's
think
a
he
nice
should.
sprint.
Like, if
He
he doesn't
definitely-
top 10, that's a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense,
he's a good rider.
Very good rider. You got Rubio, obviously shown himself before and numerous times in UAE Tour as well. Nice climb. He could get maybe a breakaway win or KOM. So
Yeah. And Quintana GC? No, right? No.
Probably
chance.
Rubio's more likely, right?
Yeah,
I
Rubio,
I would try it with Rubio.
Because
but
last year, if you take away the time trials, he would have been 4th on GC, Rubio.
yeah. But
He's always a really strong climber, so it's just whether he can improve a little bit in the time trials. Obviously, he's never going to be as strong because he's obviously a really lightweight Colombian rider, but it's whether they think going for a stage win or trying to push that top 10 again is more valuable, similar to Ciccone, really.
it's Movistar. You never know what they're going to do. So yeah, expect the unexpected, and then they'll spin a wheel
I
inside
don't
the
think they
team.
know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't think they know at all. Spin a wheel and just guess. So yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
and look, it makes them fun to watch. So
Yeah.
Do you
in a
think
sense,
Milesi has
sometimes.
a shot at the TT victory on stage 2, or
Unfortunately, the gap between everyone and Tarling TT sense is it's like a different world, or isn't it really in a sense?
Yeah, it should be top 10, but yeah, to beat Tarlin, he's going to
It
have to do
takes some
something
day.
crazy.
It takes some like Vingegaard tour performance, isn't it, really, to try and beat Tarling? So
Yeah.
all right. Then let's move on to Q36.5, where we have Tom Pidcock, Xavier Aspirin, Milan Valic, Mark Donovan, Emil Lippens, Damien Hausen, Matteo Maschetti, and Nicholas Zukowski. Always switching between the different languages. It's hard. Tom Pidcock coming to the Giro, not going to the Tour, and then prioritizing this. Thoughts?
You go, Joe,
Yeah.
because I don't know what to say about Pidcock, really, in a sense. Like, I don't think the ability's quite there to take on the GC riders, in a sense, like Ayuso, Roglič. But like stage wins, you just go for them. It's like, I don't know what they do.
It seems that since going to Q36.5, we have seen a more consistent Pidcock compared to his Ineos days. It always used to be with Ineos that you never knew what kind of Pidcock you were going to get. And with this team, he just seems to be at a very consistent high level. We saw that very early on in the season. We saw that in the Ardennes Classics that he did. And of course, Strade Bianche as well, where he did that battle with Pogacar. GC, I doubt it. I don't think he's going to go for that if he goes for stages, he can win multiple.
And it's in a sense, though, like if he wants to go for the GC, though, the Domestique who would have at his disposal are very strong. Hausen and also Mark Donovan as well. That's two great riders who are at your support.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think? GC or stages?
Well, I saw an interview that he done just after the team presentation, and he the interviewer asked him, are you going to go for a GC or not? And he did say that he's not interested, but obviously that could be a little bluff. But I think he'll naturally try and stay with the GC as long as he can. But that stage 9 gravel stage, that's got his name written all over it, surely.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Yeah, it's one of those, the GC teams like Red Bull and UE, they don't want to give him 3 or 4 minutes by getting into the breakaway or whatever. So it's, he would either kind of maybe have to sacrifice his ambitions for the GC a bit, or does he? I don't know. It's a hard one with Pidcock.
That's a hard one for the stage as well, particularly because everyone is just going to watch him on. And if he goes, you follow him.
Yeah, that's the thing with being a really well-known rider for your ability. You've got that extra pressure, and you've got the extra obstacle, the fact that, like you say, Ethan, every time someone attacks, you attack straight away over you. And that's a hard one. But he should have some fun this race.
Let's hope so, because watching Tom Pidcock have fun, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yep.
On to Soudal-quickstep, where we have the leader, Mikel Landa, who's going to go for a good GC result. And then we have Mattia Cattaneo, Joseph Cerny, Gianmarco Garofoli, Ethan Hayter, James Knox, Luke Lamperti, and Paul Magnier.
Nice balance again, really. It's in a sense, Magnier, obviously, he could, if his form is there, can fight for the Ciclamino. You have Lamperti as well. He's not really lived up to that talent in a sense yet, because people were tipping him up to be like a puncher sprinter kind of thing. And then Landa, obviously. What can Landa do you think, Joe?
Podium. He'll be going for the podium when he. Landa's he's just so consistent.
Landismo, isn't it, really? So
Landismo.
We have a Landismo fan on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, even at the Tour last year, he weren't even riding for himself, and he still finished. Was it 5th, I think, or 6th in GC?
Something along those lines, yeah.
15.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just Landa's class. I mean, it was 10 years ago as well that he got his first podium in the Giro, and he's still knocking about.
It's been 10 years already.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Getting old.
You can tell when telling it on the hair there. So,
cheers. And you were completely right about Lamperti. He's currently not really lived up to the hype, but to be fair, he's also kind of been chained to Magnier, I think. Those two always the races that Magnier can win are also races that probably Lamperti can do a pretty good result on, but because they're always racing together, Lamperti is always going to be in that domestic duty. They must really like each other because they keep racing together. I really hope they still like each other. But I think they're about the same age, or exactly the same age.
They was both at Trinity together as well, so they've been racing with each other for a while now.
I really hope they're mates, because otherwise that
would be awkward.
Yeah. Ethan Hayter, fresh from Ineos. Well, not that fresh anymore. We're halfway through the season almost. What should we expect from Ethan Hayter, from the British champion?
You shouldn't expect expectations again. Really, just let him, in a sense, vibe. In a sense, the pressure, in a sense, in that team is on Magnier, isn't it? Really, if he wants to say, in the words, apply pressure to get an elusive win. But yeah, I mean, if Magnier has an off day, then Hayter's the next man up, in a sense.
Yep.
But can he be brought to the line in a decent way?
Yeah, that's the main thing. Positioning with Hayter. That's his Achilles heel. Yeah, but like Ethan says, it's a good thing that Magnier's going to be the main man, because that takes the pressure off, and then Ethan Hayter can just race his race, and he might pop up when everyone least expects it.
It's what happens in the Giro, isn't it? Really, you know,
Yeah.
someone just pops up.
True.
Where did they come from?
Yeah, bloody hell, mate.
Absolutely. I mean, with the Champions jersey, you definitely do see him coming. And to be honest, it's one of those stories of someone who's kind of been written off, joins Soudal-Quickstep, and suddenly gets a revival. It would be chapter 700 in that story. So
sounds awfully a lot familiar, like a certain other British rider. So yeah.
I wonder who that is.
All right, on to Team Jaco Alula, where they're bringing Chris Harper, Koen Bouwman, Davide Di Preto, Paul Double, I think one of your local, from the same town as you, Ethan. Then we also have Felix Engelhardt, Michael Hepburn, Luke Plapp, and Filippo Zanna. What are our expectations?
I like Zanna for King of the Mountains. I'm gonna. And if I was a betting man, obviously, I would definitely go for him with the King of the Mountains.
You are a betting man, Ethan.
Yeah, I may have to have a little gamble responsibly on him. But the rest of the team, though, is also, in a sense, similar type of profile to Zanna, in a sense. But yeah,
it's a super attacking team, isn't it?
I
can see all 8 of them being in the breakaway one day.
Paul Double is obviously, it's nice to see him rewarded with the World Tour contract after last year. Where was he on? He was on Polte, wasn't it?
Polte,
yeah. It's nice to see a British rider doing well in the World Tour.
Yeah. And Chris Harper, do you think he's going to go for a GC result or not?
He could, but I think it'd be one of those riders that would benefit from going in the breakaways and then naturally moving up the GC. I mean, because with Zanna, Platt, Double. I mean, even Bouwman, he won the King of the Mountains the other year at a couple stages, and he's in fine form as well. So really, you're right. I think they should just send the whole team in the breakaway and have third week.
Yeah.
Go crazy.
All right. I honestly just. Oh, that'd be so hilarious to see if all 8 of them go into
a pro cycling manager attack there, isn't it?
Proper, Get the train going, Michael Hepburn leading them out on the flat, and then they attack on the climb. Yeah.
A sky train
you could Plapp doing it as well.
Yeah.
All right, we're on to Team 17 already then with Team Picnic Postinel, team that's not had a very good season so far. And
I think they're in serious trouble, really, in a sense. You know, I don't see
even in terms of their UCI points.
Yeah, in the sense they're not picking up anything, are they? Really, obviously, Jakobsen has had there's like a vein artery kind of like surgery on his leg. So the guy gone Bardet. Don't know, do you?
For this race, they're bringing Bardet, Alex Edmondson, Chris Leemreize, Gijs Leemreize, and Chris Hamilton. I've flipped them. Sorry. Nicholas Marco, Max Poole, and Casper van Uden and Bram Welten.
Yep.
Max Poole, I think he's the guy to watch. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, Max Poole definitely.
Do you think they can scrape up some UCI points?
Then if there was like the sports directors, I think they would have the choice of, if they gave them the choice, they would probably skip the Giro because they're in. I think this serious alarm bells ringing now for them. I think they will get relegated, unfortunately. So, considering the circumstances,
the things that Astana has been doing in this early season have completely taken Team Picnic Postinel by surprise, and just the gap that are now closing. Is it closed already? It's going to be pretty close.
It's going to be closed very, very soon. So, especially with the Sunday that they had.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane. Who do you think is their main man for wins if they can get any?
Van Uden, I guess, in a sense, to try something there, really. You can definitely sprint. Bardet will be a romantic affair if he went and did a stage of the Giro in his last ever one. But it's Max Poole. Could he do the stuff that he was doing in the Vuelta? Possibly. So yeah,
I mean, I think Lane Rice is climbing well as well at the moment, and he likes to attack as well. I don't know if he'll win a stage, but I think we'll see him in quite a few breakaways at least.
yeah, they're gonna
worth
have to
keeping an
try
eye on as
somewhere.
well.
So if they don't try, then they're in trouble.
100%. We'll move on to Team Polti visit Malta. I was going to say Cometa, but that's just habit. We have Davide Picanzoli, Davide Bais, Mattia Bais, of course, the two of them, Giovanni Leonardi, Micro Maestri, Francisco Munoz, Andrea Pietrobon, and Alessandro Tonelli. This is their A-level squad. And judging by what they did last year, they can do some damage with this.
I like this team.
Yeah, I do as well. Picanzoli can do tremendously well in the GC. We've seen recently in this year how well he's been doing in the GC. Leonardi as well can mix it up in the sprints. So yeah, they've got a lot of balance to the team. We've mentioned that before, but for an Italian Conti team to come into a Grand Tour like this in this shape, and it's actually very impressive the way they've built the squad.
Yeah,
I mean, they have also shown it last year. They deserve to be at this race every time. And I think with Maestri as well, like the way he raced last year was incredible. And Picanzoli, I think you're absolutely right. I'm not sure if he would go for GC. He probably would.
I think he would go for GC with the results he's been having this year. He's in some nice form.
Yeah, but considering the opposition here, do you think like going for breakaways and stages that way would not be better?
I guess it's in a sense just we've mentioned it before, just trying it out in the GC and hang on as much as possible and see how it goes, you know. But like for a young Italian as well, getting a stage win at so early on in your career in the Giro is tough. It can just take you to another level, can't it?
Mm-hmm. I think after the TTs have passed, we'll know a lot more. I think he might suffer a little bit on those, and then either have to make up time to get back in the GC, and maybe that is done through a nice breakaway.
Yeah, for sure.
Crystal ball moment. On to Team Visma Lease Bike, where we have Wout van Aert, who was apparently had a viral infection in the week before the start of Giro. Very curious how that is going to impact his form. Then he is joined by Eduardo Affini, Wilco Kelderman, Olaf Kooi, Steven Kruiswijk, Bart Lemon, Dylan van Baarle, and Simon Yates. I know we're like 5 months into this year, but still when I see Simon Yates on a Visma Lease Bike start sheet, I'm still, that's not right. That must be a mistake. Is that just me?
No, you're right. In a sense, I think it's like you always get those transfers. I think when like you just look at the start list and you're like, what, this guy is transferred there. It was like Jan Hurt. You mentioned there earlier. That was a bit of a caught by surprise. I completely erased my memory of that transfer.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm aware that Simon Yates had gone to Team Visma Lease Bike. It was a very big thing at the end of last year, but just still seeing him in that kit feels weird, as if something's wrong. But obviously, he's going for GC. He's done good GCs before. Can he win it? Maybe not.
I don't think so. Time trial for him is a bit of a pain in the backside in a sense. It could be if his time trial was thereabouts, then potentially, but the team supporting him, and it's a bit, in a sense, mid.
Yeah, I think they have Kruiswijk and Kelderman as support.
You have Kruiswijk who probably end up crashing. Like I think he has a lot of bad luck, doesn't he? So he does though. Like I think every Grand Tour he's crashed.
Yeah, but you can say that about all of Team Visma Lease Bike at this point. So yeah, moving on. Wout van Aert, what to expect from him? Or should I not ask the question expect anymore, because we don't want
You
to put
shouldn't.
expectations on
You
riders.
don't, because which is unfair on Wow, obviously, because he has the Belgian media hounding him every time, innit, really? So, and it's just nice to see Wout back after that knee injury. I mean, still seeing the pictures and the scars is crazy, isn't it? But like, if a prime Wout van Aert from the tour where he's was then to the break, imagine if he recreated that, man, and that form, he could probably win the Giro. But in a sense, he could win the Giro. It's generally like compared to recent years. Seriously, he could actually have won the Giro if he was in that peak form. You don't believe me?
No, I don't believe that Wout van Aert can win
Same
the
as when
Giro.
Remco. It's the same as when Remco flew to Vuelta, but
We're not going into a discussion about Remco fluking the Vuelta. Wout van Aert will not win the Giro.
Obviously not this time, but like
that's a very hot take.
It really is not, and the fact that it is considered as one is deeply shocking.
But don't even deny that. When you seen the parkour of the Giro announced, you at least thought it was a bit underwhelming in the sense that someone like that type of profile could at least compete in a sense.
If someone like Ayuso or Roglič decides to go, they go, and Wout van Aert is dropped on a mountain and loses 3 minutes, 4 minutes easy. And
obviously, but
there's no terrain where Van Aert makes time up to a Roglič.
You never know with Ayuso. He obviously has the talent there. It's just obviously we've seen in the Tour and Galibier where he wants to, in a sense, let's say ego in a sense, isn't it really? I think is for himself compared to working for Pogačar, which is, if he wants to do that, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to take us away from this ridiculous topic of GC Wout and go to Olaf Koy. Best sprinter here on the flat, you would say?
Easily, I think.
Yeah.
Do you think he's still going to have issues after his crash at Gent-Wevelgem?
I think that's long enough to recover in a sense, but still, like, it was.
That's crazy thing to think about as well. That's like 6 weeks ago, broken collarbone, but now, that's plenty of time to recover from a broken bone. It's crazy what we think is normal for these professional athletes.
Yeah. Now go and win some Giro stages, Olaf.
Exactly. Talking about expectations. Next team, we have Tour Pro Cycling Team, which is bringing Yanis Voissart, Marco Brenner, Alexander Krieger, Rick Pluimers, Michael Storer, Florian Stork, Larry Warbath, and Michael Zeelaert.
That's
nice.
Obviously nice he was gonna have Hershey there. Obviously, he was actually even announced that he would be going to the Giro, wasn't it? But then they changed their mind. Obviously, his form has not been thereabouts, has it?
No, he's not been at his best, but I think RCS still won't be too happy with the team.
I think they'll
no
be a bit pissed off.
No Hershey. Yeah.
They got catfish, didn't they? Really, in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a nice team. I like the team, but obviously they're the two big names that's who the organisers want to see at the end of the day.
I know. Yeah, I have an outsider pick already. Again, I've said one outsider pick before. This is my other outsider pick, Rick Pluimers for stage 1 as well. I think, particularly, you've seen Tour of Oman he won where it had that kind of similar. It was a bit steep, obviously, but like in terms of the way it could be raced, he can do very well in that sense.
Yeah, Pluimers and Zeelaert, both of them are going to be, I think, under the radar going into the flat stages, but I think they could do something nice between the pair of them, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Tudor not lived up to the expectations this season, in my opinion, but yeah.
And what about the German champion, Marco Brenner?
Yeah, I think this could be a big breakout race for him. Because I remember when he was a youngster, he was like hyped as the next big thing. And obviously, was it Sunweb or DSM at the time? I can't remember. Was that where he was at? think.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah,
It must be.
DSM, yeah.
yeah. It didn't really go to plan, but then at the end of the day, he was still only 19, 20 years old. But I think over the last year or so, he's making the right direction now. His climbing's improving. Obviously, he won that German title. I think he could be a rider that might take a stage, maybe. But I think a lot of people will know about Brenner within the next year or so that didn't.
It's a nice environment for him as well, really.
Yeah.
In a sense, in the role that he has within that team.
Yep,
Yeah, it's also not to forget he's only 22 years old.
exactly. Talk about expectations.
Mhm.
He's 22. He's got a long
But-
way to go in his career.
If you're 22 and you're wearing a national champions jersey, that comes with expectations. That's something
Yeah.
you should expect. All right, talking about expectations, let's move on to UAE Team Emirates, where there will be a lot of them. And sorry, UAE Team Emirates XRG is now the full name, where we have Juan Ayuso, one of the two main favorites, I think, for GC. Then we have Igor Arieta, Filippo Boroncini, Isaac Del Toro, Rafael Maika, Brandon McNulty, Jay Vine, and Adam Yates. Well, it's a UAE team, isn't it? It's pretty stacked.
It's flipping stacked, isn't it? You could send that to the tour and it would probably do well, really, in a sense. But yeah, Ayuso and Roglič, that is going to be a battle out that ever we're all going to want to see, compared to, obviously, there wasn't a battle last year.
I mean, we've seen them battle in Catalonia. Obviously, Roglič took it there, but still in the two mountaintop finishes, that was incredible in both cases. To see them sprint to the line and trade punches and one stage win each. Of course, the Barcelona stage is perfect for Roglič. He loves that stage. But any hints on who could come out on top for the Giro GC?
Roglič. And I think the bonus seconds plays into him a lot there as well, in terms of if the riders are to ride for the bonus seconds. And also, I think overall, they're always going to be very close climbing ability-wise. And then I think Roglič just packs the better punch, in a sense. I think we're going to see a repeat of Catalonia a lot in upcoming stages.
Joe nods his head.
Yeah, well,
Also
I
for
mean,
Roglič.
I think on paper Roglič edges it because he's got that experience, and with the way that the route is set up, a lot of the GC will be decided in that final week. So it's a case of whether Ayuso really has got the experience and resistance to not go too crazy too soon. I think Roglič is more than happy, like you say, Ethan, just to sweep up the bonus seconds in the first couple of weeks, win the sprints at the end of the stages, but not really go all out attacking and save himself for that final week. But I don't know whether Ayuso's game plan will be the same, because obviously he's at the other end of his career. He's only just really getting started, even though he's already had so much success.
Yeah. But he is bringing a team that has a lot of experience with these Grand Tours, with a Maika who has piloted Pogačar to a couple of GT wins. You have Adam Yates. That's a lot of experience to maybe try and keep him calm, but at the same time you're bringing in a Isaac Del Toro who loves to attack as well, but also has been great domestique. In general, a very balanced team, I think.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the likes of McNulty, Vine, and Yates, because in their own sense, they could lead the team at GC at this race. So it will be interesting to see whether they're fully committed to Ayuso, because as we saw at the Tour last year, was it the Galibier stage? There was a few little bits going on between Ayuso and Almeida. So we know what UAE are like. It can, because they're all superstars really. So sometimes it's hard to rein your ego in and work for another rider when you think you can win yourself. That'll be an interesting dynamic.
McNulty
it also leads into
as well, I think. I was going to mention McNulty in the breakaways, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Give him a strong chance. Last year, or the one before, when he won in Bergamo, and that really nice stage. So and obviously he can sprint as well for those breakaways. So it'll be very nice to see him with his mustache as well. So
Yeah, obviously Jay Vine was going well at Romandy, so it's hard to say to these sort of guys, you've just got to be chained to Ayuso for 3 weeks without any sort of individual chances. So yeah, how the team will manage that, we'll see.
I think they also just have to play the cards right and like send Adam Yates up the road, like have him attack early in the climb, and then whether or not Ayuso bridges over or not, like just having him up to road is gonna cause Red Bull just to blow up their team to try and catch him. So definitely interesting cards to play, but of course Red Bull can mirror that with a Hindley and play exactly the same tactic. So if Yates goes, Hindley follows, and we'll see how that plays out.
But UAE has the more cards in that sense, don't they? So with like Vine, obviously, and Yates. So that's going to be a fascinating watch, isn't it?
Looking forward to it. Now for the longest team name on this list, VF Group, Bardiana CSF Faisane. Always fun, that one. Filipe Fiorelli, Luca Covelli, Filippo Maili, Martin Marcellusi, Alessandro Pinarello, Alessio Martinelli, Manuele Tarozzi, and Enrico Zanoncello. My Italian's getting better. But thoughts on this team? What to expect? Breakaways.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, breakaways. Yeah. I think there's two key riders with this team. I think Fiorelli is going to be sort of the guy that will be getting the stage results. Maybe he might get a podium on the stage. Maybe like in a crazy world, he might even win a stage because he's got that fast finish in sort of the hilly scenarios. But I think just points farming from getting top 10 stage finishes will be good for Fiorelli. And the other interesting rider to watch is Pinarello. I think he's the sort of rider that could replicate what Pellizzari did last year. Another like really young Italian climber, but got a lot of talent.
Yeah, I mean, if he does well, then Ineos, I think, should definitely sign him up as some marketing scheme there.
That would be
perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, Pinarello, I think, he's one to watch.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Tarozzi as well?
Yeah, Tarozzi's, he's always, you know what you're going to get. He's quite a reliable rider. Similar to Fiorelli, just reliable.
100%. Then on to the last team of today, and probably one of the teams of the season so far. XDS Astana team with Diego Ulissi, Nicola Conci, Lorenzo Fortunato, Max Kanter, Anton Kuzmin, Fausto Masnada, Wout Poels, and Christian Scaroni. The Beast team.
They're going to win all 21 stages, aren't they?
They're going to win the GC. They're going to win the points. They're going to win the mountains. I mean, they've even got new helmets now.
This preview is a waste of time.
We've kept the best for last.
Everything. Yeah, they're going to win it all. That's it. Game over.
No, realistically, what can this team do? Win stages? Probably.
Yeah, stages.
What we've seen in the Tour of Turkey, Wout Poels won a stage.
He's in really great form.
King of the Mountain, Wout Poels, that could be interesting.
Scaroni, when he obviously had that crash, which absolutely hindered him. He was on a mission. I think Scaroni was he was, I think, top 3 in the UCI points rankings. And then for the rest of the team, it's just crazy, really. Just the level that they're at compared to last year.
Yeah. We also have Fortunato, who
Fortunato
raced Romandy just
Romandy
this week, basically. Finished 4th in GC there. Does he
top 10
attempt
in
GC run?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because then they have the other cards to play in a sense where they can go for the big stat pad session, what they've been doing for the rest of it.
Yeah, I definitely think they will walk away with a lot of points after this Grand Tour as well.
Yeah, Max Kanter as well. He's an outsider for the sprints. He's in good form. He's had a couple of wins this season, and like we were saying earlier, confidence for sprinters. That's the main thing at the moment. So yeah, I don't know if he'll win a stage, but he'll definitely be getting some nice results. Maybe top 5s, maybe a podium or 2.
Yeah, 100%. Any remarks that you still have for the Giro? Anything?
I think we should both all of us should say who we're gonna think is gonna win the GC first.
All right.
You go
I
first,
can
Bram.
kick it off for you. I'm thinking it's going to be Juan Ayuso. Take his first Grand Tour win.
Roglič. I'm being boring in a sense there because he's the experience. I think Joe will probably choose the same in a sense.
Yeah, my head says Roglič, but my heart says someone a bit more rogue. I don't know, something about Egan Bernal, man.
It is something a
The
bit.
comeback, the story. It's obviously
all over
crazy,
that, man.
but yeah.
That would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, the head says Roglič though, but I would like to see what Egan Bernal can do.
I mean, Roglič needs to stay on his bike. That's the main thing. And before
that's
say
it.
like we're jinxing him or whatever.
You need to watch out with your sarcastic comments on the social media about Roglič because I know they love you so much, the Roglič fans, Bram. So.
Yeah, but I've been right too often. So maybe let's lock it off there and close out. Unless you guys still have final remarks.
No, I hope everyone enjoys the show. Really, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. I enjoyed this. Great blast.
Well, thank you, Joe, for joining us. It's going to be great having you on a couple more times in the future, I think, I hope seeing you more often on the podcast if you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you all for listening and enjoy the Giro. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, guys. Bye-bye.
Ciao.